Welcome to Python tutorial. In this tutorial, I am going to explain how to implement a recursion function in Python. Before going to implementation, first you should know the what is recursion. So let's see. Recursion function. What is recursion function? What is the meaning of recursion function? A function that calls itself is known as a recursion function, and this technique is known as a recursive. A function can call itself is nothing but a recursion function. So what are the types of recursion function we have? So the types of recursion function: direct recursion function and indirect recursion function. So what is the meaning of direct recursion? Let's see. Direct recursion. A recursion function that invokes itself is said to have direct recursion. So I'm going to explain with example here. So I'm going to defining a one function recursive. So here I'm going to call that function. So inside this function definition, again I'm put the recursion function call. So this function again it's going to call inside this function. That's we call as a directive recursion. So what is indirect recursion? A function which contains a call to another function which in turn calls another function which in turn calls another function and so on, and eventually calls the first function is called as a indirect recursion. So I'm going to explain indirect recursion with example. For example, so I have a function f1. So inside the function definition, I have a function f2. I'm going to calling the f2. So in that f2, I am going to calling f3. In that f3, I'm going to calling f1. So indirectly, I'm going to calling the f1. So that's the reason we call as a indirect recursion. So what is the base condition? So when I'm going to defining a recursion function, we must specify the base condition. Otherwise, we can't able to come out from the recursion. That's the reason you should be if you want to come out from the recursion function, we must specify the base condition. So what's the meaning of base condition? A base case is a special case where solution can be obtained without using recursion. This is also called base or terminal condition. So each recursive function must have a base case. It means when you are going to defining a recursive function, we must specify the base case. So a base case serves two purposes. It acts as a terminating condition. Recursive function obtain the solution from the base when it reaches. So now we are going to find out the factorial of a given number using recursion function. So compute the factorial of a 5 number using recursion. 5 factorial is equal to 5 into 4 factorial. 4 factorial is equal to 4 into 3 factorial. 3 factorial is equal to 3 into 2 factorial. 2 factorial is equal to 2 into 1 factorial. 1 factorial is equal to 1 into 0 factorial. 0 factorial is equal to 1. So again here 1 factorial is equal to 1 into 0 factorial. So what is the resultant of 0 factorial is 1. So 1 into 1 is 1. 2 factorial is equal to 2 into 1 factorial. So what is the resultant of 1 factorial is 1. So 2 into 1 is 2. So 3 factorial is equal to 3 into 2 factorial. 2 factorial what is the resultant of 2 factorial is 6. 2 factorial is 2. So 2 into 3 into 2, 6. 4 factorial is equal to 4 into 3 factorial. So what is the resultant of 3 factorial? 6. So 4 into 6 is 24. So 5 factorial is equal to 5 into 4 factorial. What is the resultant of the 4 factorial is 24. So 5 into 24 is equal to 120. So here 0 factorial is equal to 1. So it means it's the base case. It is a base condition for factorial of a given number. N factorial is equal to 1. When if the n is equal to 0, general case, so n factorial is equal to n into n minus 1. So recursion definition can be written as below. N factorial is equal to 1 when n is equal to 0. Otherwise n factorial is equal to n into n minus 1. So we can able to write like this. So n factorial is equal to 1 when n is equal to 0. Otherwise n into n minus 1. So the above definition can also be written as shown below. So f of n is equal to 1 when n is equal to 0, otherwise n into n minus 1. So now I'm going to implementing that recursion function in Python. So here I'm going to use PyCharm ID for developing the Python program. Okay, now I'm going to defining the function df fact of n, and I'm going to mentioning the base condition. If n is equal to 0, 0, return 1, else return n into fact of n minus 1. So I'm going to calling this function print fact of input, enter the value of n. Okay, so I hope that you have a little bit confusion about this line. Here I'm going to using the input function is going to read the data from the standard keyboard and it will return in the form of strings, but I want integer form, so that's the reason I'm going to casting it. I'm calling this function. So once the result come back to this function, I'm going to print that function with help of the print function. So inside this function I'm going to calling the same function. That's the reason we call it a recursion function. I'm going to execute this program. So enter the value of n 5 120. Thank you.